So in Hendrickson's case, we are looking at an application of the dead man statute. And what this essentially means is that if you have a civil dispute with someone who is now dead, and you are wanting to testify to something that person said, or your side of a dispute with that person, because that person is not now able to represent his or her side of the story, you're no longer allowed to tell your side of the story. You have to support it through entirely documentary evidence or through other witnesses, people who wouldn't have the same bias that you had. In some ways, the dead man statute is like a super bias statute. Remember, the courts under our rules of impeachment are most concerned with those things that go to bias. And so in this case, if you have an interest in the outcome of a case, ordinarily what we would say is, well, that means that the other side can toss everything it wants to at you to expose your bias or your motive. They can bring in extrinsic evidence. Courts will be very liberal in allowing anything in that shows bias. But what if your bias and motive and interest in the case is against someone in this particular litigation? So like the interest, in this case, the dead person's interest is passed to another person, and the facts to be established relate to your relationship with the person who's now deceased. Let's put some skin on that. The Hendrickson case. In that case, the dad was in possession of a ring that became part of his estate, and the whole family now claims an interest in the ring. One of the daughters, though, claims the mom gave her the ring. Mom dies before dad, and then dad dies years later, and we're trying to determine who owns the ring. Did the dad still own the ring at the time of his death, meaning it's part of the estate, or had the mom's gift of the ring then gone to the daughter, which means she now owns it? And so the court says, well, first of all, this ring remained in the dad's possession in his safe for 16 years, suggesting that her claim is just not true, that it was not ever actually given to her. But can she testify to the fact that the mom gave her the ring? And the answer is no. And here's why. Because in essence, what she's doing is testifying against her father, who's now dead. The claim is that he owns the ring and it passed to his estate, meaning all the children. She's one of them, but she doesn't have exclusive rights under the will to the ring. So now, can she testify that she, not the dad, owned the ring prior to his death? No, because the dad is not there to refute the claim, and she has nothing but an interest in the case, or she has a strong interest in the case. And so we're worried about her lying. Normally, that we're worried about someone's lying, we don't prevent them from testifying. We just allow the other side to offer impeachment evidence, extrinsic as well as questions to the witness who presents the testimony. But when the person who would be in the position to mount the claim that this is mine or this was mine is now deceased, the person who would have that information is not able to provide the kind of information to the lawyers, to the successors in interest, because they're not around and are for the first time being told about this claim against the deceased. Then the court says you actually cannot testify to it. You can offer objective witnesses, people who don't have an interest in the claim. You can offer documents that support your claim, but you cannot yourself, with your bias, offer testimony against someone who's no longer around to refute that claim against the person who had that interest that's now passed to a party in the litigation. That's the dead man statute. Doesn't come up an awful lot, but it's kind of a wonky little rule that you ought to at least be familiar with for practice.